Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you so much for joining Sacred Para. I'm RK, and I'm here with you on this early morning edition of Sacred Para Chats. How about that? So we're going to sit up here. We're just going to talk today in a relaxed setting early this morning on my side of the globe about writing for your dolls and what it means to you as a creative. So I talk about adult play therapy. That's something that's an important and transformative therapy in my own life. I've written about it as far as being an adult play therapist coach, and I've also talked about it from the perspective of actually being a person who enacts play therapy in my own life as an adult. One of the things that got me into adult play therapy was really my children, specifically my daughters. After seeing the videos of, I'm going to do a shout out right here, at my Froggy stuff, they saw it on YouTube and just really wanted mommy to get involved with being able to sew clothes and play dolls. And so that was really the beginning of it for me. I've shared that in previous conversations, but it's been a while since I've said anything about it. So for anyone who's new and joining and new as followers, that's honestly how I got back involved in it. And they had talked to me prior to the pandemic, like, we should do that. And I'm like, yeah, we should. But at the time, I was busy writing and doing book signings, and my husband and I, we were traveling comedians at the time, and so we were either hosting our own open mic sessions as comedians, or we were on someone else's stage doing comedy, and then the other portion of time, like I said, was writing books as an indie author, going to book signings, and just here and there, just busy. And I really didn't see how I was going to get the time in to do the At My Froggy stuff kind of stuff. I thought it was awesome and amazing. I enjoyed watching the videos with my girls, but I was like, I don't know how I would actually fit that in time-wise, and then homeschooling and taking care of our little ones. So of course, and I was pregnant. So it was a lot going on. Nonetheless to say, and then the pandemic hit, and that really, of course, shut everything down. And the concept then became, since we have so much time on hand, now would be the time to actually go ahead and start crafting and start sewing and creating storylines. And we were taking pictures and just randomly, putting in a hashtag like Barbie, and boom, this whole community popped up. And we were like, oh, wow, we're on to something. So we did this on my arcade page, which is where I had all my books at. And it just kind of felt very random, as I would advertise or market for my books and maybe show a picture of the food that I made, and then just throw in a doll that we were, doing the face paint on, or rerouting, customizing. There you go. And I was like, this looks really, really cluttered. And I'd rather us have a page that was solely dedicated to dolls. And I found that in doing the storyline, and I was doing the poses initially, and they were saying the words, and of course I would throw in my words too, and we put it in the caption. But I found that in having these moments with the girls, it was very therapeutic. I was getting back in touch with something that I hadn't been in touch with in a while, and that was my inner child. And being able to reconnect with her and the joy that the dolls bring, and the stories that I used to come up with. I talk on here, and like I said, it's been a while since we've had this conversation, but I talk on here about my childhood best buddy, Michelle. I loved that girl. I still love her. And I haven't talked to her in a while. Life happens, and We went separate ways, not in a bad way, but just our life direction and path went separately. And I'm still connected to the rest of her family. I still talk to them. Her niece is my niece. And I actually need to call my niece today. But I still, talk to her family. They will always be precious to me. Very, very fundamental in my life. I remember being over there, like if we had a Thursday and Friday off of school, I was at their house Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Sometimes going to school on Monday with Michelle, because we both went to Bloom, although she was in a higher grade than me. Or either I'd come home like Sunday, or I'd come home like we got into an argument because we were around each other so much. We get into an argument and sometimes like a blowout fight. And so her mom would be like, I think that is, you probably need to go home. And I'd be like, can I come back for dinner? Like, because her mom and Shirley, they made steak and they made baked potato, and they would just like slather all this butter on it, and they would put ranch dressing, and you have like the salad and just as much ranch as you want to put. And I loved it. My mom, she cooked chicken and other healthy items, and I never did get a chance to have food like that. And they would have Captain Crunch, and they'd be like, you want some? And I was like, no, because my mom wouldn't let me, but I would watch them eat it, and I was like, man. And my husband, since that time, I've had Captain Crunch, and I'm like, nah, kind of like the mom off of Minions, off of Despicable Me, like, nah. And my husband's like, you missed it, because, when we were growing up, that was the era for Captain Crunch. Like, it was delicious back then. And I'm like, man. And I think about it, like, I can see it in my mind. It's so photographic, because I can remember seeing the Captain Crunch on the top of their refrigerator and just being like, man, it looks so good. It looks so good. It did. And I was like, man, I want some so bad, but I didn't want to go against my mother and eat stuff that I wasn't supposed to. So I missed out on that, but I loved being over there. They always just embraced me and loved me, took care of me. I was there basically every weekend. That was my second house. I loved it. That was my girl. So being able to connect again with the dolls put me back in that place of enjoyment. And then even being at home and playing, I loved playing with my dolls. Like, that was my time. And my mom, she was a seamstress and designer and had her own shop, and I would play on the floor with my dolls, just be in my own world with my dolls. Occasionally my mother, would come in my room when I was younger, and she would be like, oh, you really need to organize your dolls better, and and be like, you need to brush the hair, and you should dress your dolls. And it was cool, but it wasn't like playing, you know what I mean? And now I believe I got both of that going on, where I'm like, let's organize the dolls. Let's brush, and keep the dolls looking nice, and love on her, love on the kid. But also, let's play. Let's enjoy it. I try my best not to keep dolls in the box unless I really, really have to, because I grew up with dolls being in the box or dolls just being for display. And then I had my, I guess you would say now, the cheaper Playline toys, that I could play with. But there were some dolls, like the UNICEF dolls, the holiday dolls. I wanted to play with those, and I didn't, because my mother was like, those have to be on the display. Don't touch those. Those are collectors. They're going to be worth something. Now, I get online, like eBay or Etsy, and I'm seeing these collector dolls for like $35, $60. They have dolls that just came out in 2018 that's like $800 or $1,000. Like, what? Like, god dang. If I would have kept those dolls, even in mint condition, I may not have gotten that much off of it, So it just goes by. I heard at Jan speaking before, Jan Yang, and he said something, and check out his page too. I'm giving you a shout out. Although he really doesn't need it, but he has a huge collection. His Barbies are even at the museum right now. Go ahead and bring them to me. Just phenomenal and a really down-to-earth, cool guy. I talked to him previously in a chat. You need to go check that out. We had a conversation, Jian Yang, and he has an amazing collection of Barbies. You can keep the blanket. And just really, really great. He wanted to make an appearance. He was like, how dare you do a live without me? Yeah! How dare you? Don't do a live without me. I'm sorry. So, yeah, really it's about demand. You know, if the doll doesn't have a huge demand, then the cost isn't going to be, you know, up there. Even if the doll's been there since 1988 or 1986, it doesn't mean that you're going to get that kind of money off of it. So I'm understanding that now a lot better than what I did then. But I try my best not to keep my dolls into a box because I want to enjoy it. And so I find now that being able to be an adult collector and being a practicing adult play therapist. So whenever you connect with me as an adult play therapy coach, just know, because I do have open services for that, just know that I'm not talking to you about something that I don't do myself. I think a lot of times coaches and therapists and psychologists, which I did graduate with, I have a psychology degree. I also went to school for counseling. I also went to school for my MFA for writing and teaching. And I'm literally like a year, not even like a full year from graduating with that. But long story short. And I'm also going into NLP. And I'm getting my certification for hypnotherapy right now. And I've been really working on this class for a long time. I'm like, let me get finished with this, Lord, by November. So I'm hoping to be done with my hypnotherapy certification so I can go into my NLP. All right, so that's a whole lot to take in. There we go. But one of the things that I really didn't like when it came to therapy and coaching and counselors are people who kind of like tell you what to do or give you suggestions, and then they don't do it themselves. Or someone who may not have kids, but they're telling you how to raise kids. There's nothing against anybody who does not have kids and they're a therapist or a counselor, because sometimes looking from the outside in does have value. But it feels so much better when you can give me sound advice, because that's the experience that you come from. The experience I come from is being an adult play therapist, you know, and being an active player. I enjoy playing. I enjoy making storylines. I enjoy the posing. I enjoy the crafting. I enjoy the sewing. If I could really spend like 6 hours a day, 4 to 6 hours a day, just crafting and taking pictures and getting my, dolls into a deeper storyline, oh my God, I would. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. But of course, there's adulting that has to take place. There's a commercial out right now that's like, adulting sucks. And my kids were like, what does that mean? I was like, because adulting does suck. Like, it does. I love it, but I'm sorry. It does. I saw the way he looked at me. It does. Because you have to make so many decisions. You're so responsible. And really deep down, you're like, how did this happen? I was talking to somebody at the memorial service. A husband and wife, and they have 2 kids, and we were talking about raising kids and parenting, and just like, we don't know what to do. We don't know what we're doing. We're doing the best that we can, right? And I was like, dude, I was literally just 15 like yesterday. Now I turn around, I'm 40, and I got 10 kids. I'm married with 10 kids. It's like, how did that happen? How did that happen? What am I doing? So you're doing the best that you can, whatever makes sense for you. So I was going to talk about a different subject matter. That's why I had the painting right here. I was going to talk about hidden gifts and talents, and how most of us who are creatives on this site, being able to do adult play therapy is not limited by our dolls. It's not limited by our crafts. It's not limited by fashion. What you will find is not limited by photography. What you will find is that there's all kind of other talents that you have, hidden gems, if you will, that lives inside of you that was already there. And that's the cool and awesome thing about adult play therapy. See, I tied it in. Thank you. That's the cool thing about adult play therapy, is that when we talk about play, we're not just limiting it to action figures or Barbies or dolls or cars, but we're exploring all avenues and ventures of play. Because that's what we did as a kid. We would go from playing duck, duck, goose and hopscotch and jumping rope. Yes, he's right. to then sketching and drawing, to writing a poem, to riding our bikes, to playing on what was popular back then, Nintendo, or the Game Boy. We played, and we played in all facets of what it means to play. And so that's really my encouragement. So just to backtrack, we talked about my history of how I got started in this, and it just really exploded for me. And we also talked about, let me get this phone. 6 o'clock prayer. We also talked about the importance. Hold on, real quick. All right. I have a 6 o'clock prayer routine my household and I do. So we talked about my history in this, how I got started in it. We spoke about where is that for me right now, what I do as far as being an adult play therapist, and what I do is be able to talk to you and encourage you and motivate you to actively get involved with play, not to see it as something weird or strange, but to embrace it and normalize it into your daily routine. I hope you can hear him, because he is just, this is him all the time. He had all kinds of things to say. For a little prophet, all of them, all the prophets, prophetesses, they just have all kinds of things to talk about all the time. Yeah. So we talked about the history, who I am, what I do, the importance of you playing. Why? Because number one, there are multiple benefits. There are multiple benefits for you with your mental health. There are as far as getting you out of depression, getting you out of anger, helping to increase your joy, helping you to refocus your energy and harness your energy, getting you in touch with your inner child, being able to really ignite the fire of creativity. Thank you for picking it up. And thank you so much. Being able to ignite the fire of creativity, where you get creative, not just in the area of dolls, but in the area of life, all dimensions, even how you interact with your children. When you thoroughly get involved with the action of play, oh my God, working with your kids is like, I didn't know I would think on that level, because you just, all those roadblocks just start getting knocked down. The walls of Jericho fall down. What? Yeah, because, whatever mental blocks were there, you find yourself, oh, isn't he so cute? Just got done yawning. You find yourself being able to, explore those avenues and take risks. Adult play therapy is so important, and we need to normalize it. And if your thing is just, just different than the dolls, don't be afraid to embrace that. Or if you're, working on a storyline, you realize, like, I've gotten as much out of this as I can. Someone just recently, at the Tiny Seller, I am giving you a shout out. She put out a post recently, and it was recent for me, as far as saying that, she was discontinuing that particular journey with her doll, Joe's life, and being able to just embrace her journey where she's at right now. And, she put up a follow-up page if you want to continue to follow her. And of course, I did, because she is a sweet spirit. Very, very wonderful doll friend. But I'm so with her as far as when you're a creative and you're an adult and you're playing, you have every right, because that's the beauty of play. The beauty of play is being able to say, this is working for me, this is not anymore. I want to enjoy my time. And still be responsible. So we don't want to look at play and say, play is something that just makes you irresponsible. Play is something that kids do. Play is something that people do who are immature. No. What do we do when we go on vacation? We play. That's why people look forward to vacation, so they can play. Do that every day. Find a way to interact with your life. Yeah, I'll take it. I got his fancy card. Find a way to interact with your life through play. So that is my word for today. I want you guys to have an awesome and blessed and amazing day, family. I thank you so much for joining me, either live or joining me on the rewind. You guys have a good day. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. I know. Look at this one. Look at this one. Bye, guys.